We've made it through a very long season of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, season 13. Was it good for you? We're going to talk about it. Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion part 3 starts now.
You are unhappy. You feel like a hater.
I don't like her tone. I wish you would tell Margaret to shut the up.
That's not a nice person.
There's no door, asshole. You're gonna respect me more than that.
Everyone's got skeletons.
Don't even go there. We're gonna go get there.
Hey, welcome back to, that's a real close-up of us. Welcome back to The Real Housewives of New Jersey recap with Russell Ray and Ronnie Jr. Ronnie Jr., welcome to the show for our final, for our what seems so long, final part of our reunion episodes recap.
Woo, that close-up was, wait, whoa. As
We're about to have another one.
Yeah. Well, I'm beautiful, so there's that, which is good. But it was more like this overwhelming nature of going through this entire season and lots of ups and downs and lots of, dramatic experiences between the cast. But to come out on the other side, we weren't involved in it, but we were just recapping it, and it shouldn't be this much, but it did feel like this much. So I'm glad. I think there was some wonderful Melissa moments. And I'm glad the season is over. Yes.
Are you glad it's over? I do have some cheeseman when it comes to the next season.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm dying to hear that. That sounds like a tease, because what you all know is Russell is a real television host. You could see him on Create the Escape. It is on Peacock streaming. So you already know and love NBC Universal Family. Peacock streaming has Create the Escape, which was a show that was, it was family oriented, very the antithesis of the drama that you see on the Housewives. And it was like escape rooms and families and all this, wild and wacky kind of stuff. And Russell was a host and a design expert. So, man, hats off to you for getting on the Peacock streaming platform. And I'm sure there's probably some talks of you joining back on something with Peacock soon enough, because you definitely did a good job on that show.
Well, I wouldn't say that I haven't been working on things in the closet, because I'm in the closet.
Okay. We thought you came out years ago.
It's also a teaser on something that I've been working out. Yes. So if anybody caught those clues, I am working on something currently right now. I did speak to Ronnie a little bit about it, but we're not going to talk about it on camera because we don't give away our ideas. And if you ever catch Ronnie running the streets of New York, please get an interview by him, because he is the host with the most. You can catch him on his Ronnie Shorts. He is running around New York City now that the smoke has dissipated and his lungs have cleared. We do want to send our well wishes to everybody in Canada. We know that more than 19 million acres have been burned, and that New York City actually had the worst air quality for 2 days in the entire world. And so we're so glad that we are getting back to normal. Now let's head right into it. Our word of the day, if you're joining us and you're having a specialty cocktail with the Real Housewives of New Jersey recap reunion part 3, our word today is going to be daughter. Actually, let's add an S to that, because that would be cute, right? Daughters.
Yeah, but I think I have a gripe going into next season.
You have a what?
And I have a gripe for you.
Oh, tell me.
I know you do a wonderful job. That you the host, the producer, the switchboard operator. Very much like when I did Real Housewives of Miami. So this is a great trade-off. And you executed pretty good. I just think that the word of the day is usually a Teresa word. And it's not, it was family once, and
has it been really
something else she said?
Oh shoot!
And I had not
okay,
made
hold on.
I've not made a peep beep, and this time I'm like, I don't know if I want to hear from her again.
I have my charging cord around my neck.
One time I did an episode 2 and my headphones were like halfway on. It's like, it's not like we're not professional. We do a really good job. It's just a matter of like what Russell said. Like we've got our hands in a lot of different things, like outside of just doing this show and other shows. Like, even for me, like I'm in New York, getting to jump in and out of New York radio a little bit. So that's, every once in a while, and that's a lot of fun. But then like when that's done, there's like several other events, and meetings. I didn't even get to do what I wanted to do, which was go to be, I would have loved to see the show, but like be involved with some of the Tony Awards festivities that went on in New York City, specifically Washington Heights, which was such a big deal because, obviously a lot of times they're more in the theater district, but Washington Heights, Lin-Manuel Miranda, the United Palace Theater, a theater that I've been inside before. Like I used to do somewhat of location scouting or as an assistant or whatever. And I remember going to that theater. So to think the best in musicals and Broadway were all up in Washington Heights. Like that's so cool. And by the way, I know we're supposed to talk about Jersey. Well, this is Jersey adjacent because the story is in Bergen County, Jersey. The show that won it all, Russell, gather this, okay? Really, I know, I don't know if you like musicals or whatever, but Kimberly Akimbo is a show I saw. I don't see a lot of shows, mostly because of money. So if Broadway.com wants to throw a check, they can. But I saw Kimberly Akimbo with my cousin, totally thinking it's going to be some cheesy something. I don't know. So good. And it won like 5 Tony Awards, including the big one of the night. So that was really cool. It was a tangent. Nice. So I went off and talked about other things, but Bergen County, New Jersey, I don't know. Kind of ties in.
One of Shane's best friends actually won Best Actor, J. Harrison G.
Oh wow!
One of the first 2 non-binary actors out to win a Tony in the 76 years that they've been around. So congrats to him as well. He, they is what J. Harrison goes by. And it was a moment here. We celebrated a little too much, and I had to go to work the next day, but I was struggling. It was worth it.
Yeah.
So wait, hold on. So applause to everyone who won.
Yes.
Without further ado, Ronnie, I'm gonna let you choose our word for the day because clearly I've been. I think I'm doing it. I think I've always chose Teresa's words unconsciously to be a troll. But I won't be a troll this time, and I'll let you go ahead and pick our word of the day. So let us know if who's drinking what.
Okay, that's the producer in you. I think she may have not said it a lot this episode, but we might say it. Melissa said she dismissed so effortlessly Teresa by calling her dollface quite a bit, and I thought that was pretty good. So maybe dollface. Can we try that one?
Dollface. All right. If you're having a drink with us today, I'm still hydrating after drinking from the Tony. So I brought this lovely sparkling coconut water by Makai from Honolulu that I will be hydrating myself with. So our word of the day is going to be dollface.
Yeah.
We'll take a tally and find out how many times we said it at the end of the show.
For sure.
Without further ado, we're getting right into it like we always do. Teresa versus Joe. I mean, I feel like Reunion Part 3 was all Teresa versus Joe because all they did was bicker and banter back and forth. But there were a few things that I feel Joe had the upper hand on, and then there were some things that I feel like Teresa was actually right on. But I want to get your take on their arguments going into Part 3 now that he's out on the stage and all the husbands have joined the cast.
Well, I think the fact of the matter is, and I want to know your opinion too, the fact of the matter is, like, you can hate all you want, but there's not been another house husband that has been so entertaining. So it's been so life of the party. Everyone enjoys him, So and I know it's so easy to do that knock, like they would do it in Atlanta with Peter. Like somehow, if you have your wife going through a situation, you're just supposed to completely be quiet about it. And I understand there is the concept stay out of women's business, but I don't think Joe gets in women's business per se, but he does get in his family business. which is, you know, the tougher thing that we all have to watch. Yeah, sure. I think he held his own. The other gal, his sister, I think she like she did what you do, like you know what she did? She did what Nene Leakes used to do. So Nene Leakes maybe had three prominent like sound bites or memes or whatever, but she took, you know, 100,000 shots to get it. You know what I mean? So everything she said like fell on the floor, uninteresting. But then every once in a while, the I said what I said, you know, came through. So I think similarly, not in a soundbite way, but similarly for Teresa in this episode, I feel like she just kept going. So yes, if you said that Joe kind of stood his ground with a lot of the situation, but then she did too, I think she was just throwing stuff up in the air, and some of it may have landed. I will give you that part of it. And I don't know if this is jumping ahead, but I'll just say it now so I don't forget, because last episode I was rewatching and there was something I wanted to say, and I was like respecting the show, and I was like, oh, I'll get to it later, and I forgot. But I want to say something about this episode because this has been a bit of a conversation. Should Melissa have stayed out of Joe and Teresa's conversation? And the answer is absolutely not. Like, you're not going to, like, if I'm Melissa in this case, you're not going to talk to my husband crazy, especially when you just dismissed him before he was on the stage. And also, I have every right to step in, just like all the asinine things you do. Why don't the asinine things that Teresa does get seen in that way? You know what I mean? Like, we all see it, but she keeps getting a pass. I think it's because a lot of people think she's not intelligent, and that might be the case. But what I was really getting at, and Russell, I've talked too much. It'll be your turn here, but I think the concept of you're gonna love this. The concept of like, well, see, Louis was very astute, and he said, let's just be quiet and let's let the siblings hash it out. What? Like, first of all, Melissa's been dealing with this for 20 years, and it's every much involved with her as it is with Joe. Now, I could say that maybe there are some things where Teresa's husband, there are some things that do match towards the wife and to the husband, so I can see it on that side. However, to just naturally, it's a play, and we can easily see it. And it's like, because you really don't have a lot of say, or shouldn't have a lot of say in all of this stuff. So for you to duck out, it's no problem. You don't. You've even been. Here's the real interesting fact. Joe's sister's husband hasn't even like spent like 3 Christmases with her. They don't even know each other. So yes, in that case, it's best for you to kind of maybe not join the conversation. But you only said that because you knew you didn't want Melissa to be in on the conversation. The whole goal has always been, in my opinion, with him is to make Teresa, like, it's not enough for them to hate Joe, but they need to have it in their heads that it's all her fault. And so if you can't see that he is dialing that up, he's with the puppet strings and getting Teresa to feel these ways, maybe a spinoff show's for you. Maybe that is what should happen. Because
look, there are some actual things what I felt stuck on Team Teresa this time around, because I know personally from hurt feelings and having siblings and growing up with siblings, an only child might not know this, but I know from personal experience that sometimes we misinterpret things when advice is being given to us, and because we're in defensive mode. So when Teresa actually picked up the phone and called Gia and said that, and when Joe said Gia called him and told him that he can do better than Melissa, I instantly, even before the whole conversation happened, I instantly thought, okay, did Joe maybe misinterpret this? Did Gia mean you can do better than Melissa, meaning you can address this situation better than Melissa? You know, because Melissa and my mom are clearly at each other's throats. You're the brother, so you're the only one who can really make reason, so you can do better. So that's how I kind of interpreted it, because I know when people are hurt, they look for hurt. When people are sad, they look for sadness. When people are negative, they look for negativity and things. And so in that moment, I thought to myself, maybe that conversation didn't exactly go down the way that Joe might have perceived it, opposed to the actual intent from his niece. And I was like, you gotta give way when credit is due. And I feel like Gia definitely might have reached out with the purpose of get over yourself. Like both of you, my mom and you, both of you get over yourself, and you should show up and you should be at the wedding regardless. And that's just how I felt on that. But I also did feel that when Joe brought up situations from the past and hashing up the past, that Teresa didn't really do a good job of defending herself, as in, no, these are the facts. This is what I actually meant. And I feel like Joe went on those aspects. There was a lot of back and forth. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of. I was more upset that they got so much airtime in this 48 minutes arguing with each other, because we rarely got to hear anything from Frank. We rarely got to hear anything from the Fudas. We rarely got to hear. We didn't hear, if anything, nothing from Nate. And so it's like, it was one of those situations where I was like, ugh. Y'all need a counselor. You really need a counselor. What would have made great television this season for Teresa and Joe, and to get over them blaming each other for the storyline, would have been for them to sit in front of a counselor together as brother and sister.
I wish they wouldn't say the word storyline. I wish they would just call each other fake. Like, storyline is, to a degree, there's the show Bible that starts, before each season. There's the pre-production, all the stuff. Like, this notion of like a storyline, you as a cast member could be fake. I mean, we see it with Jennifer Aiden all the time. But like to always make it like this one is a storyline, or you're without this one without a storyline. It's really funny to me. Like, just be more blunt about it. Say, like, I think you are fake. I think you move funny. But the thing is, then you kind of see the truth, because you could do the storyline thing because there's no way to really like have a factual element behind it. But if you were to say like, oh, you're fake, it's like, well, fake how? Because that's what they're trying to do. I don't know. Storyline to me is so funny. You don't have the final edit. You're not with the story producers. They're choosing.
Say, do you think the word storyline is a little bit of shade towards the producers from the cast? Like that's their way of telling the producers, like, I'm sick of this storyline. Do you think that's indirect shade towards the production company or towards Andy? Because they kind of have the final say. Unless someone on the cast has editing rights that we don't know about, production will always have the last say.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's been, based on certain things, there might have been stuff that had to intercept. But overall, no, it's like production is, and getting show notes, obviously with the network and stuff like that. But to your question, I don't think that it's storyline is a shade element, a shade comment to production or Andy. What I was going to say that I found interesting, and I think it's funny, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and then I feel like I want to defend it already. But so I've been watching all these reunions, Vanderpump, Real Housewives of New Jersey, Summer House, and a lot of the cast members, like, right in front of Andy's face, and it's so funny, I'm assuming him to say, well, we hired you for your story, like for your full story. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to put everything out there. Like, things will be cut out and things will be added to the show. You really don't have a decision with that. You got to go with it. Mm-hmm. But too many times it's seeming like in the reunion, I could count like 4 to 5 times based on those reunions I just mentioned, where the argument will happen, and they're basically, it happened with like Summer House, where they were like, but Lindsay, like, you did this, and like, well, we protected you because we knew you didn't want this to come up on camera, and so we were gonna like keep it where it didn't come up. And Andy's just like sitting there, twiddling his thumbs. And I kind of like expect, is he just like taking the information in his head and like gonna process it later. And I know he doesn't control all the shows as much as he used to, but like, I don't know what that is, that we're in a new stage of reality TV where you're like, oh, I'm not going to bring these things up. Now, I respectfully think it's a great thing because some of the stuff is so crazy. So again, what I'm saying is, if I had a co-cast member, yes, we ain't going to touch that. Even when Russell and I do our show, or I do my show with anyone else also, I'm always like, what are our boundaries? What do we want to cover? What doesn't feel good for the nature of this show? Because while you do YouTube and podcasting, you do control it. But to the thing, on one hand, and that's why I said it was a little kind of a big thought here. On one hand, why is it like Dolores did get to say, no, we're not going to talk about Frankie. Now that could be because whatever, but it was also, I'm protecting whatever really happened, is what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And everybody, again, in 3 reunions, Andy on Vanderpump, Andy on Summer House, and Andy on Jersey Housewives, it's like he's very okay with people saying, we're not going to bring these things to the show. Now, the flip side of that is it could be because some of these things are really, really, really something. And then the other flip side, which I would say has been the hugest problem with reality TV across the board, and that is we validated dumbass rumors. We validated dumbass bloggers. So on one hand, I'm like, no, everything should be brought to the show. That's what you sign up for. But then you got cornball cast members like Jennifer Aiden who will bring things that don't really exist based on one blogger, which I know the narrative is trying to be Marge, and we'll get to like what we feel about Marge in a second. But in that respect, if I'm not sparring with people who play fair, then it's not to be brought up. So it's just so weird. And I almost feel like all reality TV needs to really dial it back and go back to story. You want to know something funny? People don't get along. They don't need to have the rumor of, Jackie's wondering if Evan is, getting it on at the gym, and he hasn't got a bigger chest just yet, but it's like he's always at the gym.
But you know what? If he was getting it on at the gym, that would be their business. And that, not only that, but that would open the floodgates for a fan base that is untapped to talk about what they're doing at the gym. Because New York and California and San Francisco are some funny places when it comes to the gym time. So that's that on that. So if Evan, right?
Evan, yeah. I have a question for you.
I'm confusing Evan and Nate for a second. Because they're both tall, they're both good looking, they're both godly. So I was confusing it for a minute. But Evan, even if he was, maybe Jackie said, go ahead and find yourself a little boo thing at the gym. Go ahead. So we can't knock that because, to each their own.
Okay, so my question to you is, I don't want to do the F, Marry, Kill. Like, we could come up with something different, but I do want to say between Evan, Nate, and Joe Gorga, who are you in this imaginary game? Who are you going to bed with first? Or who's coming in the 3-way and who's getting shown the door? Oh, that's the game. Evan, Nate, and Joe Gorga. Who is part of the 3-way? And then who's being shown the door? Go.
Evan, Nate, and Joe Gorga. Oh, so like I'm choosing 2 of them?
Yeah,
I'm choosing one of them.
No, 2 of them. I'm not asking for the positions. That's another show for another time.
I'm not gonna go.
We're not doing all that. But two are coming in the room.
Where is our parental advisory when we need it?
Parental advisory and all the things. But listen, so it'll be a 3-way. I'll answer the question too. It'll be a 3-way, and then it'll be the other person's like out of here. So
I'm mortified.
You want me to go first?
No, it's okay. I'll go first because you asked me the question. Wow, it's time for, what did you call the game again?
3-way or the door? I don't know.
The Joe, Nate, and Evan.
Yeah.
They were the options. Okay.
And I could add Bill to the fold, but I don't think we're going to pick Bill.
Okay.
Sorry, Bill.
No shade to Bill, because I think Bill probably came out the sexiest and most underrated of those photos, the calendar. He came out so well. He looks so handsome. He looks very sexy, very handsome.
Mhm.
Think here. Who am I going to take with me behind a closed door?
Mhm.
Um, I Joe Gorga.
Is getting the door or getting the bedroom?
No. Joe Gorga is gonna be behind the door. Joe Gorga is gonna be behind.
Whoa!
I can't believe I'm doing this right now. Okay, Joe Gorga is gonna be behind the door, and
Terrible show.
Nate is also gonna be, and then Evan is gonna be in the window with the camera.
Okay. And just like that, an OnlyFans star is born. Okay, so
for everybody that's watching this, I do not have any type of paywall video.
And you could tell by the way he couldn't get his words together. He's like,
I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah.
So that is a just disclaimer. So if any producers, directors, casting networks, anybody watching this, there's no video footage of me out there.
Okay, very
I'm
nice.
a saint.
Okay, Saints. So I'm gonna do quite similarly to you. I'm gonna do come here, Joey Gorga, number one for sure. And then I'm gonna choose Evan, and I'm gonna send Nate packing. Yeah, Nate is not coming into the room. He's just the problem is we didn't get enough of his personality this season. Yeah. It was great that he was so-called a balance for his wife, and his wife does have a lot of potential on the show, but I simply didn't get enough. And also, I think him and Bill are in an interesting situation because they are sort of by team this, team that, by nature, siding, and they happen to enjoy Joe Gorga's sister's husband. But like they also got to sit by and hear things that just don't make sense fully and kind of still be in support. So it's a very interesting thing, and it sort of turned me off with Nate just a smidge. Yeah.
Oh, that was a hard game, and it was such a hard game to get through. I couldn't even get to my white shot.
Well, you know what? The problem is probably this. The problem is probably we didn't even get to mention that we, of course, sometimes get to hang out in Long Beach or different parts of LA. But last week, during the worst bouts of air quality, we did get to hang out in New York City, right? So yes. I believe we have a couple photos there, and it was just really cool because obviously we do a really good job. This was at a restaurant in Hell's Kitchen neighborhood, and we're drinking our margaritas, just having a really, really good time. And it was nice, but it was just odd because we had done a podcast that day. Oh, and our friend, your friend.
Yes.
And look at the air quality.
Air quality was atrocious.
You were only in
the worst in the world for a whole 24-hour period.
You were in on business, so you were a little bit more in and out. But I was kind of outside the day before we even really knew what was happening.
Yeah.
The next day, Wednesday, when I ended up seeing you guys, was like when there was a huge news story and everybody was like sort of inside and stuff like that. But that day before, I was kind of in it. It took me like 3 days to stop coughing. Like I was really, and not even the coughing, but then your nose was real congested. So
yeah.
We took a bad situation, made sure we got out in the city, the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood, went to a couple bars also, and looked at a couple bars that we'll have to go to next time.
Oh my gosh, that one that we left was my bad. That was so fun. Like that spot looked like a really good time, and then we went, but we ended up having a good time at the other place.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we've got things to go check out later on, and everyone was on their early bird, best behavior because usually it'll be like, let's just keep going. Let's, the next place. But we did it in a way that it was like a quick little get together. And it is nice because again, when you do these shows and it's always digital and in a cube like this, it's like, so it's nice to kind of just talk a little SHIT and laugh. And, Marsha was there as well, which was really cool. Yeah.
It was a great time. And shout out to Marsha because she tunes in every week and she watches us along with Corey, right? Corey.
Yeah, Corey Polk.
What's your friend's last name?
Yeah, Corey Polk.
Corey Polk logs in every week. So we thank you for that. And in regards to Marsha, I didn't have the orange cup because Marsha loves Ronnie's orange cup.
Oh, yeah.
I have a drink with an orange stripe in honor of Marsha and for getting through a whole season. Because Marsha, let me give you a little tea about Marsha.
Oh, no.
Marsha, you better watch out for her because she is about to be the next housewife. Okay, Marsha is that girl. She is. Marsha is that girl, and she's gonna be the next housewife. So if there's ever housewives of San Francisco, Andy, you hit up Marsha because she is ready for you. Okay, she is living that life. She got herself a handsome man. He has a great job. People love them as a couple. Like, let me just get everybody together because Marsha and her man are just everything. So shout out to Marsha because I'm telling you, once the Real Housewives of San Francisco opens, it is over for everybody because Marsha's just gonna shut it down. In other news, I want to go into.
I'm thinking about the coughing from.
I'm
thinking about the coughing from last week. I'm like, excuse me.
Oh, you know what you need? A humidifier. And then if you can head into a steam room somewhere in New York.
Well, I'm sure I could.
You can head to a steam room.
I'd like to go to Joe Gorga.
I said steam room. I did not say steam works.
That's the one in Chicago, yes?
I don't know. I think
Toronto?
there's one in San Francisco, and I think there's one in Chicago.
Got it.
I think there might be two. Anyways, if you can head to a steam room, it'll clear all that out and get it out. Because we have two humidifiers here at our house, so I kind of cleared up real quick. But let's go into Bodito D, Bodito Dum, Bodito Do, and Bodito. I don't care about you. What do you think about the investigation that he's launching on the cast? Do you think that's real or do you think that's false?
Wait, who's the who in this situation?
Just in general, do you think? Hold on, let me find me. Just in general, like, do you think Bodito really put out an investigation on the entire cast, whether it was by the likes of another cast member or if it was just because he wanted to be part of this franchise and get his name out there so that he's known and people are hiring him because he can find the dirt? What did you think about this whole situation on him being involved on the show?
I always vow to do these shows and give like such a strong opinion, but like it's just at a level that I've got such little interest in all of this. You know, if it would be one thing if Joe Gorga's sister's husband was able to, you know, articulate a sentence that matched up with his previous actions, but it always is some kind of twist or it didn't mean to come out like this. And in reality, know this, but I don't know him, but yes, I do. But then he's doing this for me and this and that, but you can't prove. It's just so much going on that none of it is intriguing to me. I'm sorry that other people think this is so interesting. And, you know, I think on Twitter, it was like, you know, there was clips of him, this person saying I have nothing to do with the show, which of course protects his business. So that doesn't guarantee any aspects of anything being clear towards a lot of what had been assumed here. But it's not even an assumption. It's just like, what the F is going on? This is just really made the show unfun to watch.
It was very weird.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You would think that you'd have some kind of a really, not an alibi per se, but you'd have something to kind of go off of. And, you know, I just don't know how many times in that final episode did we need to hear from Joe Gorga's sister's husband. I don't know how many times we needed to hear these sort of kind of walking it back, but not really. But I didn't say that. But the insinuation, like, this is just a fucking mess. Like, it's just such a mess, and it's not wonderful television per se. I think the network is really going to have an interesting task in front of them. Because the direction it's already going is odd. And also I think what happens lately is so many people want to use noble causes to free them from any kind of accountability. So one of the factual things that happens is, yes, the pile on, especially with Twitter in general, but like these types of shows, is severe. So then you kind of get these people. Jen Aiden's done it for a lot of years. Like, oh, they're piling on me, or Andy's mean to me. And so you say that and you create that narrative, but then it's like, well, wait, Jen Aiden, like, aren't you just lame? Like, aren't you like? Is he being mean to you, or is he making you be accountable for what you did? And it's like they just like switch the concept, and then all of a sudden, it's the victim, scenario, I guess. Gosh, I feel like I'm giving a run-on sentence, so I guess I'll turn it back to you if anything else comes to my mind. But I didn't love it, Russell. I didn't love it.
Here's the thing. I didn't love it either. But if you're going to bring a private investigator onto the Real Housewives of New Jersey, I need the proof. I want the slideshows. Just how you and I are on this show and we put up these slides when we're doing our work. I want the receipts, okay? I want the receipts. I want all the slides. I want it to pop up like a montage like this when we are watching the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And I want to see exactly what Bodito D found, dug up, what is actually going on. Bring it up, bring it out, because actually I got some tea. Here's why. Bring it up and bring it out, because first things first, in every Housewives contract, they are not allowed to sue each other. So that is not a thing. So just in case anybody is ignorant of that, now you are aware. Housewives cannot sue each other. So there's that. The second thing is, you can bring all of the receipts to read the reunion, which I know everybody had their manila envelopes, but those should have been scanned in and those should have been ready to be shown. So I think that it's a tired effort to bring things onto the show and not actually have it shown, explained, have any sense of thoroughness when it comes to having these things on the show. So that I don't like. What else? Unless you're gonna bring him out, like, unless you're gonna bring him out, and unless you're gonna let him give an opinion, then don't talk about him. Don't add him in the edits. I do have a little bit of cheese. Kim G, if those of y'all who remember Kim G, she actually got onto the Twitter and she actually verified a few things. Did you see this? Okay. I'm going to read to you and I'm going to show you. Hold on. Let me zoom in on the picture so y'all don't see everything else that's going on in my life. So this is the receipt. So if y'all want to just go ahead and pause and read that. I know exactly who it was. And this is in regards to Teresa going to jail. Melissa, certainly 100% not the rat. The person who did this didn't even know her or had any affiliation with her. I know exactly what went down, details even before, and how it went down. No part of it myself. I know all. Definitely. Why now? Hashtag Real Housewives of New Jersey. And Kim G has been relatively silent for 10 plus seasons. So the fact that she's coming out to say things, I'm like,
Nothing against Kim G, but after hearing that, put it on pause. Put this show on pause. I know I go hard for Melissa, and it's like, I don't want the show to end because I want her to continue on, but she will be a star no matter what. Always said that. Put it on pause. This is just too much. Like, this is so annoying. Like, this is not, we have got to let people argue on the basis of like real, actual things that people don't like. Now it's insinuation this, insinuation that. And then continuously bringing up, I mean, how many names, this is actually a curious question I have for you, Russell. How many names have now been thrown out? Like, there's been more names thrown out who supposedly, set in motion the situation with Teresa and Juicy Joe than any aspect of like what Teresa's learned and accountability. Now, I can't speak for every episode. Wasn't there some post when she came back home episodes? Maybe they did explain and explore a lot of that. But there's just so much. There's like very little talk of like Juicy Joe is at fault. She was at fault. She played her part. But every single other person is now involved. It's what the F is going on? Like, I don't know.
Look, here's the thing. If I was any part of the Bravo verse, which is still, it just might happen. If I was part of the Bravo universe, the first thing I would ask is, because Kim G has been on the show, Kim D has been on the show, I would ask, I want to know, why has nobody said who sent Teresa to jail? If everybody knows this, and I get it, like, some people are saying this is old school mentality. It's Italian style of thinking that you don't say names. Boo, I'm gonna just check you for a minute. If this was old style and you wanted to live old school Italian, you would not be on a reality show, and you would not be talking about your brother and sister, and you would not be putting each other under the bus, because old school Italians means you have your back, everything is done and said behind closed doors, and it is not for public knowledge. So I don't know who has the entire info, but I want names to start dropping, because I'm tired of hearing such and such, like you said, such and such might have said this, such and such knows that. I know who did it, but I'm not the one who did it. So if Caroline knows who did it, but Caroline didn't do it, and if Kim G knows who did it, but Kim G is not the one who did it, we have to X out everyone. If Melissa doesn't know the person, so that's an X. So we need to figure out who they're all interlinked with, because I know Kim G and Caroline do not talk to each other. Caroline and Melissa do not talk to each other, but there's someone who talks to apparently all three that knows the details of who told on Teresa and sent her to jail. Now, that would be a story, and I wouldn't mind following that, because I'm nosy and I like to know the details, because people that I've worked with in the past have always said, I don't like to say names, and I'm known to shut down a story in front of me if you are not going to give me a name. If you're not going to give me a name, then all you are is a gossiping queen. I need to know the facts. If you have nothing to hide, then you don't need to hide nothing.
Yeah.
If you're not ashamed of knowing the knowledge, then A, walk away. If you're ashamed of knowing knowledge, walk away next time they're trying to tell you something and say you don't want to be involved. But if you're going to sit there and listen and be an ear hustler, then you have nothing to hide, because that person opened their mouth and they shouldn't have opened their mouth.
I defer from you in that I don't care. Like,
Really?
you're like, but if the actual person don't care, like, what?
I want to know who this person is, because but see, what if this person is actually interesting and there's intricacies about this person that we actually might like? So what if the rat is actually an interesting person?
I don't know the rules of the rules, but if the person wanted to come forward, sure. And maybe that would be interesting. But in the concept of us not talking about the people who created this for themselves, Juicy Joe and Teresa, whether she didn't know or does know, and she's already saying it now with the new guy. Obviously, there's no issue yet, but obviously, it may allegedly go to those directions. And she's doing it again. She's doing the whole like, well, I didn't say that. Well, oh no, you got to take it up with him. And well, he knows. Well, I didn't know. He did it, but I don't know what he said. And
yeah,
it's like history repeating itself, or on the verge of potentially. But no, I honestly see. The thing is, people loved this season 1. I did not. I didn't like the setup of the show. I know you don't like Danielle, but that table scene was corny. Yeah, like everybody sort of picking on Danielle, and then Teresa nudges a table. I mean, you called her a prostitution whore, like whatever you did. Like, I guess it was like a little bit of a moment, but you nudged the table. You didn't flip the table. And also, like, I give no extra credit. I know I'm like running on a whole different tangent to what we were talking about, but I don't really give tons of extra credit that you did that to Danielle, one of the meekest and quietest in terms of, she's not really about that action type of cast members. So I don't know, it's almost as bad as watching Vanderpump and seeing Lala and James scream at Raquel. And it's like, Raquel is like, clearly she's a lover. She's a lover, not a fighter. I just never really respect people who see kind of somebody getting it's like being a teardown, and then you buck up. Not that Teresa has not.
Yeah. Before. Like you have no guts until you're in a pack. I get what you're saying. Like
and I'm not saying she does. Yeah, I'm not saying she doesn't have guts, but I'm talking about from that season 1, which I was like, this cannot be, because I was like, New York was interesting, but I'm like, this is not. What are they doing? And
my favorite is when they get the glass and they throw it behind them to the crowd, because I always picture myself being someone at the restaurant, and I'm like, what just happened? They're throwing things again.
But is there something wrong with me as being a Real Housewives of the New Jersey fan that there's so little interest I have? Now, if you were to say, ring, and I'm, hi, Russell, how are you? And then you're like, oh, I've heard from from everybody that this is what had happened, and it's like there's actual truth to the story.
Basically, here we are. We're back. Are we back? Ronnie, are you back? That was God, and God didn't want us to talk about it because clearly it's a tired subject, and it's just so tired. But in good faith, we're gonna go ahead and play a little video that of Ronnie. I don't know why this keeps our Wi-Fi is so bad. Of why I don't even know who our Wi-Fi provider is because Shane does.
Okay.
Anyways,
well, I can set it up for you. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ronnie. Let him know.
Oh, well, quickly, we do our show, but there's so many other wonderful creators. A lot which we learned and met through the world of AfterBuzz. And Cortez has a show called The Lean, and it's such a great panel. And they were talking about Melissa versus Teresa, I guess, in some degree. And, you'd have one person on each side. I, of course, was the Melissa side. But they asked me a question about Teresa in terms of what it would look like is if she left or vacated the show. And so they asked, hey, what would you think? If Teresa left, what would that look like? And so then I answered. So this is the
Ronnie
lead.
Said. Oh, that's not what Ronnie said. Those
are if Teresa left the show? Out of respect, I'll say something probably unpredictable. Out of respect, I mean, I love Melissa heavy, right? But out of respect, I will say the best bet for everybody, for all of our sanity, because this was a tough reunion. Episode 1, I agree with whoever said it, that was the best one. Everyone is so tired of this, right? So rather than make it this versus this, why don't everyone who likes Teresa, which I can't imagine liking her because she is so boring, dried paint is more interesting. But the point is, let her get that. I think somebody said it earlier today, get her notoriety status or whatever it is called, like the legend of the show. I don't mind it, but spin her right on off and see if she can bring something to the table. She's not really going to be able to do it on her own. I mean, the daughters are not going to really work. We don't even know. She's not even been with this husband like more than 2 seasons, you know what I mean, throughout the year. So she doesn't even know the guy she's married to. Granted, that may make for good TV, but I don't think her doing her own show would be a success, but it would suffice everybody who wants to still see her. I don't want to see her.
You have a rebuttal for that, R-World?
Well,
hi, Jamie.
Hi.
Yo, Jamie was killing me in the bottom corner. Oh, wait, it's not even on me. Jamie was killing me in the bottom corner when he was going like this because you said dry paint is more interesting. I cannot, Ronnie Jr.
That is a wonderful, wonderful panel. Like I said, this is Tez, The Lean, and the panel yesterday was Sammy, Danny, and Jamie along with Tez. And the show had such great structure. They go right after the episode, which if you notice, my energy is pretty warm, I think, right, Russell? But we went right after it had aired on the TV. Yeah. So you're just so tight a little bit. Yeah. So I'm glad we got to see a little bit of the harmony that we had towards the end of that little segment. And that full episode, of course, will be on Tez's The Lean, and there'll be aspects of it on my channel, which is, of course, youtube.com/RandomlyRJ Jr. But I mean that, Russell. I mean that. I try so hard to not bring up Joe Gorga's sister, but at the same time, it's let's come to a place and say, she's done it enough. This is even just unhealthy for her.
Yeah.
Like, let's spin her off, spin her right on up. And then at that point, it's a little bit of sink or swim for her, and then there's no excuse. You know what I mean? And then later in the clip, I do go on to say, I could even flip it though. Though I'm saying Teresa should be the one to go off and do her own show, I 10 toes down say Melissa and Joe could go do a spinoff. Like, I'm good with that too. A winner is a winner is a winner is a winner. And you folks who like are defined by things. I was just talking about branding with somebody who referenced something about me within the 20 years of my work in radio and television and stuff. And they were like, you always brand yourself very well. And a lot of other people like have a identity based on what they do or who their friends are or their economical social status, whatever. And those are all really wonderful things. But you have got to, and I think Melissa does this, you have to tell yourself you're a winner. So to the whole thing, because I'm trying to be like really kind to the Teresa stumps, the tree stumps, but like you just got to see a difference. Like, they cast women, or just in general reality TV. Andy always says it. We want to give aspirational living. And even if Teresa has all these things, is she living aspirationally? Sure, the trips that I don't know who's paying for. Sure, the photos with all the, look at our family, everyone gets along, like, all wonderful. But when it comes down to it, this whole season, really think about it. Was she aspirational in her spirit? Like, did she feel aspirational? Did she feel like somebody you want to be? You look at the Melissa side, easy breezy. She's got her two sisters, her mom, like her and Joe play on each other all the time.
Yeah,
They've had to take this rumor of like a cheating thing, and they keep it moving. I don't know. You got to really think about that. And I wanted to make that mention yesterday in the episode because I was like, people don't understand why I like Melissa. They're like, she's so boring. She's only there because of Teresa. I'm like, no, I'm beyond that. Like, I'm like please. I'm talking about Melissa and Joe are a little bit more aspirational. You want to hang out with them. You want to be around them.
Here's the thing. I don't disagree with you. I do like them. I love them. But I would not want to be Melissa. And I'm a Melissa stan.
You are.
I would want to be Dolores. I would want to be Dolores because Dolores is she is in total bliss. She is happy. She is powerful because she, like was mentioned at the beginning of this episode, she shut down any conversations that Frankie was going to be dragged in because she is the ultimate mama bear and she is not going to subject her kids to an opinion on the show that she signed up for. Her son just happens to be an accessory to the show. She signed up for it. So she will go head to head with anybody. But when it came to her kids, she said, nope, we're going to stop that right there. I don't have a problem with you. I never have, but you are not going to talk about my son. This is what happened, and this is how we're going to say that this happened. And that was it. And her relationship is just like glowing. She looks good. They look happy. I'm like, I want to be Dolores.
100% agree with all of that. And here's the thing. I made a mention how like, Andy's just sitting by hearing all these cast members tell him how they're not going to bring anything to the show. And I thought that was a little funny collectively talking about all three different reunions. Yeah. However, one thing that I do love about Dolores, what you said is you in life teach people how to treat you. And you might also have to go with, I wouldn't call it a repercussion because if your heart is not into it, you stand on that and then you take whatever consequences come with that. Somebody could say, Dolores, we didn't really get much from you last season. Wait, so you're not marrying Polly just yet? And you're going to say we can't talk about Frankie and it's sort of tied in? All right, you're a friend of. Not saying that that's going to happen. But when you stand for something, you have to be willing to get the stuff that comes with it. I know so many things I've done in my career. I've stood on so many things. That's why the career has been a little bit of a halt on occasion, just because if you don't have any like moral integrity, you just say yes to everything. You don't really know who you are. Dolores knows who she is. Therefore, potentially, they don't necessarily have to bring her back in full-time capacity. I don't think that's the case. I'm just saying I like when somebody, it was advice a friend of mine had given me a long time ago, teach people how to treat you. It's not always going to work, but it's very much a way you should do things, and she did it perfectly.
Yes, she did.
I just want to say one thing.
Say it.
I also, in that same sentence, do not think Frank didn't have a right to at least want to sort of talk about it. It got shut down. I feel like in some way, Teresa's husband sort of got to skate off without, really answering the question.
Yeah.
But it was Dolores's wishes. And again, it was Frank's curiosity and something that was valuable for him to bring up. I fault no sides on that. I don't fault Dolores for her saying we are not. And I don't fault Frank for saying, well, it was not just what you're saying it is. It was something else. So I don't fault either of them. Yeah.
I don't either. But also, there might have been a conversation had off camera that said, Frank, now you've mentioned this to Joe, and now this is going to be brought up in the reunion, and I don't want to talk about it. So there might have been a conversation prior to after that airing between them two because they're such good friends. Moving past this conversation, I will say I think it's great that Frank and Paulie are in a good place with each other. Kudos to Frank on getting new teeth.
Yeah.
Sorry. As we say, we're running from day to night. Anyways, Frank's teeth look great. And he said, I think I might have one up on Paulie because I have better teeth than him. But I will say Paulie's smile is like, it's right there. So I don't know if Frank's smile is actually better than Paulie's, but I think they might be on the same level. I want to move on to John Fuda getting lipo and Andy asking him about the lipo. I think this is great. I think it's great that it was brought up. I think it's great that John Fuda is confident about it. And I think it's great that a heterosexual man is openly proud of cosmetically enhancing his body because, as many people and our viewers would know that no matter how much work you put into the gym, and sometimes it just doesn't want to come off. You can eat clean. It's just the ways when we're aging, our body starts to gain muscle and gain weight differently than they did before. So I think it's great that they mentioned that. I also think it's funny that they asked Bill Aiden if he did the surgery, and they immediately said no. What I would have liked to hear is maybe John Fuda saying, hey, he didn't do it, but I might be open to him doing my next procedure because you know what, this ain't so bad. So we might get a little nip and tuck here and there as the years go on. So maybe I will reach out to Bill. And Bill, since I've been filming with you, go ahead and give me a discount because my money's gonna be running a little dry as I get older because these kids are gonna suck the life out of me. Just have some fun with it. But I will say, sorry, Danielle is very proud of her man, very confident to be standing next to him. And some people find that as a demasculine thing to do. And I'm here for it.
Rachel standing by him.
Yeah. Rachel.
I'm sure Danielle would be okay with Nate getting a procedure as well. But cosmetic looks, it's, you get a haircut. I know it's not exactly the same thing. You do things, some people dress in such a way and, that's their thing. You never really need to pocket watch anybody because get out of my pockets, first of all. But everyone spends their money on different things and there's different priorities, I think even socially, the way I like to go out, not that is even comparable to plastic surgery, but I'm saying I'm more I like to have things with quality. I don't need to be all out in these streets all the time, but I like to do things where it feels really good, on the occasions or whatever. And sometimes, people do it differently. So the same thing with your physical appearance. Some could be well, I'm just such a real person, an authentic person, so I'm not going to get the plastic surgery. Good. No one said you had to. But at the same time, what I'm saying is you are not necessarily a bad person because you did take that time. As long as you're safe and you did recover healthy, I think it's wonderful. And your whole concept of him as a straight man being this is what I did. And it's also that thing of what made you do it? Did you see yourself on camera? Did that make you insecure? I feel like you could be in a place where you're not going to get that satisfaction because I don't really care what you think. but it doesn't mean that I still don't want to enhance and better myself, you know?
Yeah.
And like you said, if other housewives are doing it, their season 1 versus their season 5, it's like, why wouldn't one of the men also get into that? And I was thinking about that recently because everybody loves to say Melissa Gorga and her old nose. It's like, y'all act like Teresa looked like she did today back when she started. She did not look the same. I mean, the forehead is always prominent, but for the most part, like, people glow up with these opportunities. Let them, you know what I mean? They've gotten a really wonderful opportunity. It comes with a lot of challenges, and we're just sitting on the couch watching. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, this Wi-Fi is just not with it today. It keeps like muffling our words. So we'll probably wrap up soon for that reason. But back to your point, like, yeah, he looks great. But then again, when you're a business entrepreneur mogul and you have 1,000 things going, maybe you don't have time. Because I watched my trainer's story, 50 minutes of cardio a day on top of an hour and 45 minutes of just lifting. Not everybody in the world has 3 hours to do, unless that's your career, which that's my trainer's career. Then you don't have that luxury of spending 50 minutes a day on cardio on top of lifting. So sometimes you just need a little quick fix to get you a little boosted, and it gives you the more energy, and it gets, you'll be moving quicker, and like, just things starts to happen in place, and sometimes you just need that little kickstart. And
I'm just saying, don't be this person who's like, that's so shallow, that's so superficial. John Fuda got the plastic surgery or whatever, lipo or whatever, and then in the same breath, you're like a horrible person. So clocking somebody and saying because they did this procedure makes them bad, I don't agree with it. Being good is being good, and you can be good and have all the nice things too. I'd venture to say sometimes the nicest people I've ever met happen to have a good amount of money. Their life is a little more comfortable. Us that are struggling, or I'm not speaking for anybody, but like us that are struggling, it's like you end up getting a lot more frustrated, and that trickles out in your conversations with people. So knock that off, like somehow because you did something to take care of yourself in a way that like somehow you're like a shallow person or you're a bad person, because there's plenty of people with their hog bodies that are awful people. So that's true.
As long as you're beautiful and kind internally, that's all that matters.
Which is true. Don't I always say that? I've always struggled with my weight, got down to a really good weight at 28, 29. It's not happening exactly the same way now just because I'm 42 years old. But I always say, no, I'm I'm happy as fuck. Like I love what we're giving over here. Does not mean if I, got a contract or two, put some things together, that I wouldn't maybe want to, have this little glow up look, because of course what we do is broadcast in the public eye. And, that has nothing to do with anyone else. It has to do with like how I feel, how I want to jump into the product that I'm giving. I mean, you don't film things with bad camera work. You don't edit things with a sloppy editor. You don't have a terrible producer make a terrible show. So why wouldn't this be any different? It's all part of the same thing, to have excellence in the work that you do.
And with that being said, we are headed towards the end of our show. But before we press this end broadcast button, I do have a little bit of cheeseman for you about the Real Housewives of New Jersey. So, as I mentioned previous episodes, Bravo has put a pause to filming with the Real Housewives of New Jersey because they weren't sure how they were going to proceed forward, given that Teresa and Melissa do not want to film together whatsoever. Now, I heard from a little birdie that the producers are now thinking about packing the show with even more housewives. That way, there could be very minimal interaction between Teresa and Melissa. That way, they can do the reunion, and then they'll have separate aspects of the same show. I'm interested to see how this is going to work. I feel like it might feel like it's two different franchises if they're really shooting like that. But there might be a solution to the problem. I know you don't want to see certain people come back, and but unfortunately there's a fan base and they want to see. And I think I think we all want to see it. We all want to see the resolution happen between brother and sister, and we all want to see people's family getting along in harmony. And what we're seeing more of is that what we're seeing is that you can't blame someone for a storyline if you're handing it to them on a silver platter, because if you wouldn't have made these mistakes, there would be no storyline to follow. We have seen Joe, and as I said, we're wrapping, so I'm going to talk about the very last line. One of the last lines that what happened on this episode is that Joe even said, "You're my sister. I love you. If we were in a car accident tomorrow, I'd run to your bedside." Teresa's rebuttal was, "Like my father said, love me in life, not love me in death." Joe never said anything about her dying. And what I say about is when you're hurt, you look for things to feel hurt. He was saying there is absolutely nothing that is going to stop me from being by your side. I just need you to accept it. And I think the solution to this problem would be Louis and Melissa need to go away, not away as in like divorce or anything like that. They just need to go away. Teresa and Joe can go do their brother-sister activities together, have coffee, not talk about their spouses, talk about each other, talk about how well the kids are doing, call it a day, build the relationship that way. If you want to meet up with your nieces and you want to meet up with your nephews, then what you do is you meet up as brother and sister and leave the spouses out of it until you can get to a mature level. But I will say I'm glad that I saw Joe still with an open heart. I think it's good that anybody wants to pursue a relationship after all the hurt when it comes to bloodline. I was disappointed in Teresa, and she kind of reciprocated it, but not really. She still said she wants nothing to do with them. So we'll see what we can get out of them next season. As we wrap this podcast with the Real Housewives of New Jersey season 13, it has been a pleasure being on all of your internet home screens, television home screens, and mobile phones. And we look forward to seeing you when the Real Housewives of New Jersey returns. But coming up next, we'll be reviewing movies. We'll be coming up with interviews. We'll be talking to people from the Hispanic community. We'll be talking to people from the queer community. You can head over to RandomlyRJ Jr. and check out his shorts. You can check out his YouTube page. He has more than 300 shows under his belt. If you have your kids at home and you need a little peace and quiet, go ahead and send them over to the Peacock Network. Have them watch me at Create the Escape as the design expert and third host on the show. Or you can watch our reruns of this show. Give us some boosts. Give us some likes. You can follow me at Russell X Raymond on Instagram. You can follow RandomlyRJ Jr. at RandomlyRJ Jr. on Instagram, or you can just go to our websites, randomlyrjr.com and russellraysilva.com, and you can find all the links to our current work. Until then, we will see you next time, and we can see you over on our next recap for the Flamin' Hot Cheeto story, was produced by the wonderful and magnificent Eva Longoria, as we are proud to represent and talk about the Hispanic community. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Can I add one thing?
Oh, sorry. I was having a moment. Until then, that's enough from me. Off to Ronnie.
You were so wonderful, and you've already got out of Housewives. So I'm like, should I even? But I just wanted to say, like, one of the harder things about being a Melissa fan versus a Teresa fan is I feel like Teresa fans spend a lot of time hanging on Melissa's every word. They're almost like nerds about it. Like they're like almost like really love Melissa, but they don't know how to process. But one thing I was going to say is Melissa fans usually don't spend a lot of time.
We're back.
Oh, okay. Where did it cut out?
It cut out as Teresa fans, and it was like, Arr.
Okay. Teresa fans, always spend so much time hanging on Melissa's every word, or like arcing it as like, see, she said that, like that. And the reason it's so off balance is because Melissa fans like don't care about Teresa. Yeah. So a lot of times Teresa gets off the hook in the aspect of fan base and Twitter and everything. But I got to say, just as we finish, one of the most disgusting things of this season, I wish it would have got brought up on the reunion, and maybe it did and it just got edited, was the episode where Teresa said something along the lines of like, well, her father passed away when she was young, so she's never known how to like love a man or something like that. You see, a Teresa fan would have took that, completely held it for a very long time. You notice Melissa fans were like, that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
Melissa is dope regardless. She's a baddie. Like, the confidence is there. That's why we relate to her. But I just wanted to make that note as we're kind of finishing this Real Housewives of New Jersey, this side of this, that it's like, I just noticed that. I'm like, Melissa fans don't do the same thing as Teresa fans.
Yeah.
And it's such a lame way. So again, spin them both off, you know, give them their own shows and see who gets the best ratings. That's
okay. Fight to the death. Ratings to the death.
Slow. Whoa. On display. Okay, the show's got to end. I don't want it to end, Russell.
I know, but like I said, we're gonna be reviewing the Flamin' Hot Cheetos story coming up here. Ronnie and I are gonna get our schedules worked out. We're also potentially going to bring in a third or fourth Hispanic perspective, because it's very important that our stories are told. It's very important because we are a large part of the population. For a long time, we were a very minuscule part of the actual on-screen talent, and we love to see inclusivity, and we're actually coming to this point now where, you know, we're seeing a lot of different variations of ethical ethnicities and cultural backgrounds that are all gracing our screens, and we love it. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it, because we want to hear your 2 cents on it, and you can head over and watch it on both channels, Randomly Ronnie Jr. and Russell Ray.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done finally.
All right,
Bye, Russell.
We'll see you later.